Amazing! Blind date exposes incredible connection. Female CEO and paralyzed son's touching journey. Jamie Thompson sat alone in her office, the dim light from her laptop casting shadows on the walls lined with awards and photographs. The weight of her life bore down on her chest, the duality of ambition and motherhood twisting her gut into knots. As the CEO of a tech startup, she commanded boardrooms with poise, yet the challenges at home threatened to uproot her carefully constructed world. Her thoughts quickly shifted to Danny, her son, whose laughter was now silenced by the consequences of a tragic accident. Paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair, he had become her focal point, a constant reminder that her dreams often collided with her responsibilities. On this chilly Friday, the anticipation of a blind date loomed over her like a dark cloud. "You need to get out there, Jamie," Claire insisted, but Jamie felt torn. Could she allow herself even a moment away from Danny? The whispers behind her back, judgmental neighbors who couldn't fathom her choices, echoed in her mind. She fidgeted with her fingers, a nervous tic that betrayed her uncertainty. What would this date mean for her loyalty, her ambition? As she prepared to leave, Jamie glanced at Danny, who was engrossed in a video game, his face transfixed by the colorful pixels. "Have fun, Mom," he called out, his innocence bold against the bitter reality they both faced. Could she really step away, even for a couple of hours? The old diner was just a few blocks away, yet it felt like a world apart. The scent of fried food greeted her as she walked in, mingling with nostalgia and the muted hum of diner chatter. Sitting across from Marcus, a kind-hearted social worker, Jamie found herself surprisingly engaged. They shared stories, and as his genuine interest unfolded, Jamie felt a flicker of something she hadn't welcomed in years. Danny would have loved this guy, she thought, a sharp pang of longing for her son's approval hitting her squarely. But as they chatted about aspirations and setbacks, a gnawing anxiety crept in, bringing with it questions that felt insurmountable. "Do you think you can manage both work and family?" Marcus asked, his sincerity cutting through the layers she wore. Could she? She hesitated, the response hovering on her lips, but the moment was disrupted by a surge of panic. Her phone buzzed relentlessly, tearing her from this rare moment of ease. A crisis at her startup, a potential deal teetering on the edge. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue." Jamie's heart raced, her grip tightening on the table. Should she betray her ethics for the sake of financial stability? Danny's laughter rang in her ears, clashing against the urgency of the phone's buzzing. The pressure of expectations wrapped around her throat like a noose, suffocating. What was the cost of success? Caught in this moment, she felt torn between two worlds. With Marcus looking on, unaware of her internal chaos, Jamie's breath quickened. To abandon her values now felt like stabbing herself in the back. The tantalizing promise of a partnership, both romantic and professional, hung in the air, but with it came the heavy burden of choice. Every second felt oppressive as she weighed love against ambition. Could a flicker of hope bloom in this storm? The dilemma became unbearable, a battle within, leaving her on the precipice of a decision that could redefine everything. The din of the diner faded as Jamie's thoughts spiraled deeper into turmoil. The buzzing phone lay inert on the table, a sentinel of chaos demanding her attention. Yet here was Marcus, his steady gaze piercing through her fog of confusion. She felt the weight of their conversation shift, the air thick with unsaid words. "Jamie," he ventured, a hint of concern threading through his voice. "Are you okay?" Should she confess her turmoil? The risk felt monumental, yet the sudden urge to be open tugged at her heartstrings. "I'm just trying to balance everything," she finally admitted, the vulnerability surprising her. "Danny's accident changed my life in ways I didn't think possible." The admission felt like a release, unbinding the knots in her chest. Marcus nodded, silently urging her to continue. After a moment, he leaned in slightly. "It sounds like you're carrying a tremendous burden. But you know, acknowledging it can be the first step toward managing it." His words stirred something within her, a flicker of courage. For too long, she had focused solely on triumphs and failures, burying the emotional landscape in which she was entrenched. Could she view this tumult not as a hindrance, but as a stepping stone in her journey? "Yes, but every time I think I've got things under control, it just unravels." Jamie's voice trembled, and she caught Marcus's gaze, sensing an understanding that felt rare and profound. The emotional weight she had so carefully guarded now shimmered with possibility instead of despair. In that vulnerable exchange, she found a renewed perspective. What if she didn't view her role solely as a CEO or a mother? What if she could blend her ambitions with her personal life, harnessing one to enrich the other? The thought ignited a spark. She envisioned a future where her identity as Jamie wasn't riven by conflict, where her experiences shaped her leadership instead of shackling it. "We all stumble," Marcus offered gently. "It's how we get back up that makes the difference." His words lingered in the space between them, resonating long after he spoke. She realized that embracing her struggles could empower her decisions at work. Every late night, every board meeting, every moment spent grappling with grief and joy could fuel her ambition rather than extinguish it. She was the asset of her startup, not just in strategy and innovation, but in heart, in resilience. A new mantra emerged in her mind. Authenticity could be her strongest leadership tool. Perhaps, by openly embracing her life's complexities, she wouldn't just manage, but thrive. As the evening wore on, Jamie was acutely aware of a shift within, an inward determination rising like a tide. The gnawing anxiety that once accompanied her decisions began to ebb. Maybe this date wasn't merely an escape. Maybe it was a clarion call for self-discovery. But just as she felt solid ground beneath her feet, another buzz echoed from her phone. The name flashing on the screen sent a jolt of uncertainty through her. It was her COO, Mark, with a text that screamed of an urgent crisis. She stared down at the device, then back at Marcus. "I'm sorry," she murmured, feeling the momentum of her revelations caught between reality and hope. "I need to take this." As Jamie reached for the phone, a stark choice resurfaced. Moments of personal growth juxtaposed against demands of the corporate world. She felt a wave of anxiety wash over her again, yet now she stood on the precipice of her own revelation, poised to step into a choice that would either define her or lead her deeper into chaos. What awaited on the other side of this decision? The echoes of ambition, the pulse of possibility, or the shackles of fear? Thus, her heart raced anew, not out of dread, but from the anticipation of confronting what lay ahead. It was time to face whatever reality awaited her on the other end of that call. Jamie's hand hesitated over her phone, the weight of the moment preventing her from picking it up. The words Marcus had shared echoed in her mind. She could choose to embrace the chaos of her experiences or be overwhelmed by it. This call from Mark represented the unyielding demands of her work, yet it also signaled the urgency of everything she was trying to manage. With a deep breath, she answered, "Mark, what's going on?" The urgency in Mark's voice was palpable. "It's the funding report. There's a discrepancy. We need to address it with the board before the end of the week." Every fiber in Jamie's being wanted to push back, to insist that they could accomplish it later. But conflicting emotions clawed at her insides. This was not merely a professional challenge. It felt like another reminder of the misalignment in her life. "Okay, I'll review it tonight," she replied, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. As she up, A sense of resolve began to crystallize. This was her challenge, to find a balance not just in her work, but in her internal dialogue. "Everything okay?" Marcus asked, concern etched on his face. His presence reminded her of the moments they had just shared, the honesty, the vulnerability. She nodded slowly, gratitude swelling within her. "It's complicated. Work just can't stop to accommodate my personal life. Have you thought about how to structure their time differently?" His question was probing but kind. Jamie took a moment, looking out the diner window where the world spun in a blur of headlights and evening shadows. "I've always compartmentalized," she admitted, "but maybe I need a more integrated view of my life." "Integrated? Yeah, I can't keep treating work and life as separate. Perhaps it's time to develop a work style that reflects who I really am, struggles included." Marcus smiled, and for a fleeting moment, her confirmation of this thought felt energizing rather than daunting. But as familiarity with this new mindset grew, so did the weight of uncertainty that clouded her professional path. "Starting tomorrow, I'm going to rethink my approach," she declared, "not just in terms of strategy, but in how I lead." Marcus raised an eyebrow, encouragement sparkling in his eyes. "That sounds promising. What will that look like?" "I think I'll open up more to my team," she mused, allowing the idea to unfold. "Each team member has their own struggles, and showing them my vulnerabilities might build a deeper connection. If I embrace authenticity, it should help me lead more effectively." "That's brave, Jamie. Authentic leadership could transform your office culture." As the evening progressed, they brainstormed ideas and scenarios, game planning the integration of her personal narrative with her professional identity. Jamie felt a glaze of hope coating her thoughts, envisioning not just a balance between life and work, but an intricate tapestry of the two. But the night was wearing thin, and the culmination of their discussion left an unsettling question. What if her attempt to embrace authenticity didn't resonate with her team? What if she laid herself bare and they didn't respond with support? She stood up, the weight of doubt gravitating again towards her thoughts. "I'll take time to consider how to communicate these changes. I can't just leap without preparing my team." "Then take your time," Marcus advised gently, an understanding glimmering in his expression. "You have the right instincts." Exiting the diner into the cool night air, Jamie's mind buzzed with new possibilities, her heart thrumming with a mixture of excitement and unease. But as she approached her car, her phone buzzed again. An unknown number flashed on the screen. Hesitantly, she answered, a knot tightening in her stomach. "Jamie, it's Ruth from Human Resources. We need to discuss an urgent matter about your upcoming presentation." Urgency filled Ruth's voice, and the dread of another crisis loomed in her mind. How would she maintain her newly found resolve to integrate her life and work amidst this whirlwind? There it was again, the relentless pace of their business, and Jamie's resolve to change her leadership style suddenly felt teetering. The balance was harder to hold than she had imagined. As uncertainty flickered like a distant storm, she wondered if this was just another stressor or a pivotal moment to truly embrace authenticity. What would unfold as she stepped into the next challenge amidst her evolving identity? Jamie clenched her phone, trying to suppress the tide of anxiety rising within her. Ruth's voice faded into the background as thoughts of the funding report flooded her mind. The urgency of the situation gnawed at her, and the prospect of laying herself bare to her team felt increasingly hazardous. Could embracing authenticity coexist with the expectations thrust upon her? "Jamie, you still there?" Ruth's voice cut through, pulling her back. "Yeah, sorry, what do you need?" She struggled to sound composed. "It's about the presentation next week. The board is expecting substantial updates on our future initiatives, and we need to refine your messaging. We also need to orchestrate your narrative to align with our funding strategies." Her heart raced at the implications. This wasn't just a presentation, it was a performance under a spotlight that would further define her leadership. "Right, I understand. Give me a moment to gather my thoughts," Jamie replied, her mind racing between the looming stress of the presentation and the changes she wished to implement in her leadership style. She hung up, the weight pressing down on her chest tightening with each second. How would she convey her newfound dedication to authenticity when the narrative was dictated by numbers and business strategies? What if she failed to garner their support, just as she had feared? In the confines of her car, Jamie breathed deeply, seeking clarity amid chaos. Perhaps this was the moment to embody the balance she had discussed with Marcus. Instead of two separate personas, one for work, one for personal, she could develop a unified, authentic narrative. This presentation could serve as a stage to weave both aspects of her life, embracing vulnerability while exuding confidence. Taking out her notepad, she began jotting down key points. How can I incorporate personal experiences into business goals? A ruminative sound echoed in her mind, pushing her to reconsider her written notes on sheer data-driven outcomes. Leverage my journey, share the bumps along the way, connect the dots. The ideas took flight, igniting a spark that hadn't been there before. For too long, she had donned a mask stitched from expectations, and it was time to navigate beyond that. However, the cascade of potentialness brought forth fresh doubt. Would her colleagues accept this approach? Would they see it as weakness or genuine leadership? As Jamie continued brainstorming, flashes of past presentations invaded her mind. Vivid recollections of stale slides, rehearsed speeches devoid of authenticity, and a connection with the audience that always felt just out of reach. Could this time be different? Realizing it was late. She decided to execute the first part of her plan. She would connect with each team member personally to understand their stories, their challenges. As she engaged with their realities, she'd integrate those insights into her presentation. But what was she really searching for? Approval, validation, or the courage to cultivate a work atmosphere rooted in honesty and support? Settling in for the night, Jamie felt an unexpected sense of purpose. For the first time, she was ready to face the duality of her identity, and with it came the dawn of authentic leadership. But an unsettling thought lingered. Would revealing her personal struggles incite camaraderie, or would it risk jeopardizing her authority? The relentless whir of questions spun in her mind. What if they rejected her attempt to integrate her human experience with professional demands? The next morning promised opportunity. She was determined to walk into the office and embrace her role in reshaping the workplace culture. She would challenge those uncertainties, blazing a path that melded her personal journey with her professional expectations. As she walked into the office, her heart raced with both fear and exhilaration. A knock echoed at her door, pulling her attention. It was Mark, his expression unreadable. "Jamie, we need to talk about your presentation. It's more than just about funding now," he said, his voice serious. Would this conversation steer her journey in the direction she hoped? Would it propel her to a point of true leadership or push her into a precarious corner? The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. An opportunity or a trap? She could not tell which. Jamie took a deep breath, feeling the air fill her lungs as she faced Mark. His serious demeanor signaled the gravity of the situation, and the uncertainty loomed large like a storm cloud threatening to unleash rain. "More than just funding, what do you mean?" Mark stepped inside her office, closing the door behind him. "The board wants to see a vision, not just numbers. They want to know where you stand as a leader and how you plan to unify the team going forward." Panic crept again, twinging at Jamie's insides. She had anticipated dissecting data and persuading them with statistics, but they wanted something else, something deeper. "Right, I understand. I've been thinking a lot about how to present a more authentic narrative," she said, faltering slightly as doubt gnawed at her certainty. "That's what I wanted to talk about," he said, leaning against the edge of her desk. "Authenticity is important, but vulnerability can be risky. You need to strike a balance. If you share too much, you could lose their confidence." His caution echoed in her mind, planting seeds of hesitation. If she allowed her personal experiences to seep into her professionalism, could it dilute her authority? "What if sharing my story could actually strengthen our team?" Jamie challenged, feeling defiant yet uncertain. Mark raised an eyebrow. "It could, but remember, some team members might only see it as weak. They don't know you the way I do. You've worked hard to earn this position." She nodded, processing his words like a tough pill to swallow. Could she risk the perception of weakness? Sharing her journey had been a way to find courage in personal struggles, but doing so publicly felt daunting. Yet, wasn't true leadership about embracing all facets of oneself? A silence settled as doubt hovered, heavy as smoke. Jamie's resolve stiffened. I think being authentic can resonate with them. If I show them my challenges, it might inspire them. My approach is different this time. Mark crossed his arms, skeptical yet intrigued. Okay, but it has to align with the goals we've set. We can't lose sight of the business. You need to demonstrate that vulnerability leads to strength. There's a fine line. Agreed. I need to fine-tune my message to ensure that message is clear. Jamie's mind raced through bullet points, crafting the balance she needed to convey. Perhaps sharing her challenges could encourage others to be candid about their own. Let's workshop this, Mark suggested. All business now. I'll help you shape the narrative. If you want to connect with them, we need to prepare a robust storyline that highlights your growth and continuous evolution. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that, she replied, feeling a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. As they began mapping out her ideas, Jamie felt the tension slowly evolve from anxiety into excitement. This was an opportunity not just to present numbers, but also to give voice to shared experiences within her team. So focused on the task at hand, she nearly missed the shift in Mark's expression, an unexpected glimmer of admiration. You could be onto something powerful here, Jamie. It might redefine our work culture. Or it could backfire, she interjected, her voice shaky. What if she fell flat, or worse, became a cautionary tale? Mark leaned closer, locking eyes with her. Remember, vulnerability is powerful only when paired with the willingness to grow. You're not just sharing a story, you're inviting them to join your journey. The duality of fear and determination pulsed within her. Before her stood a potential crossroads, a chance to influence her team profoundly, or risk being undermined. Still, doubt lingered in the background, a shadow that would not easily dissipate. Just as she found a rhythm in her message, a notification pinged on her phone. It was a message from a colleague she hadn't expected to hear from. Jamie, we need to talk. It's urgent. Her stomach dropped. What new challenge awaited her? Had she truly initiated a path of authentic leadership, or was she stepping into deeper waters? The unsettling uncertainty hummed in the air, leaving Jamie teetering on the edge of her evolving identity, prepared for connections, yet wary of backlashes. Would she be able to juggle all facets of her narrative and lead her team with integrity? The stakes had never felt higher. Jamie stared at her phone, the unfamiliar names sending a jolt of apprehension through her. Sarah, her colleague from the marketing department, rarely reached out for personal conversations. With an urgent tone that practically screamed for attention, the message implied something significant, something that could either bolster Jamie's recent resolve or invalidate it altogether. Got it. Let's meet in my office, she typed back, her pulse quickening. The thought of stepping from the potential triumph of her upcoming board presentation to unexpected turmoil felt like a tightrope walk. The urgency swirled in her mind as she glanced at the notes scattered on her desk. The minutes ticked by slowly. When Sarah finally entered, her expression was a mix of concern and determination. Thanks for making time, Jamie, she began, her voice steady, yet tinged with a hint of anxiety. I know you're prepping for the board meeting, but this can't wait. Is everything okay? Jamie asked, searching Sarah's eyes for clues. It's about Tyler. He's been having a tough time at school, and there's been an incident. As Sarah recounted how Tyler's struggles had escalated to bullying, Jamie felt a wave of empathy wash over her. Tyler was Sarah's teenage son, a bright and spirited kid. Ryan had always been a supportive figure in the office, easing tension with his humor, but this situation felt far more personal. Sarah's voice trembled as she described the impact on Tyler's confidence. Honestly, I'm worried how this is affecting my work and how Tyler feels about himself, Sarah confessed, her frustration evident. Jamie's emotions swirled with a unique intensity. Here was a tangible situation of vulnerability that resonated with her own upcoming challenge. "Sharing our stories can be powerful," Jamie said softly, the thought of her own journey bubbling to the surface. "I can help you figure out the best approach to support Tyler, but I also want you to think about bringing this conversation into the office. Maybe we can be more open about personal challenges like this." The words felt heavy yet liberating. As she spoke, Jamie recognized that her struggle with vulnerability could not be confined to her own narrative. It had to extend beyond her. If she truly wanted to embrace collective strength, it started with leading by example, not just for her team, but for her colleagues at large. "Would you come with me to speak with HR?" Sarah asked, her eyes lighting up with an unexpected glimmer of hope. "Absolutely. Let's find a way to advocate for Tyler and understand what support we can provide." The initiative sparked a sense of purpose within Jamie, igniting a fire that had been simmering below the surface since her conversation with Mark. Once Sarah left, Jamie sat back down at her desk, reconsidering her plan for the board. This incident had invigorated a realization within her. Her pursuit of authenticity should echo the broader narrative of support and connection within their workplace. A lingering sense of determination washed over her, pushing her to feel bold enough to intertwine Sarah's situation with her upcoming presentation. Perhaps she could draw parallels between personal experiences and the team's collective journey. The duality of her mission suddenly seemed clearer. Authenticity paired with connection could not only enhance her message, but also resonate throughout the company culture. Then the phone buzzed once more, a reminder of the ticking clock. As she prepared her presentation, Jamie realized she was evolving into a leader willing to take risks, both personally and professionally. But questions loomed. Could she weave these personal stories seamlessly enough to foster a significant transformation without losing sight of her authority? The tension grew taut as she considered the implications of openly embracing vulnerability. It felt like a pivotal, uncharted territory. What kind of reaction would her team have? As the clock marched relentlessly forward, Jamie resolved to embrace the challenge head-on. Her next step could redefine not only her leadership, but the entire environment in which her team worked. Would she find the courage to integrate personal revelations into her leadership style, or would fear still overshadow her ambitions? The weight of potential change pressed heavily on her as she prepared to carve a new path for herself and those around her. A decision awaited. The room felt stifling as Jamie hovered over her laptop, the harsh glow of the screen illuminating her furrowed brow. She was gearing up for a presentation, but the weight of the conversation with Sarah pressed down like a leaden blanket. Every time she clicked through her slides, her mind replayed the instinctive urge to draw parallels between her personal growth journey and Tyler's struggles. Could she really do that? The thought of intertwining vulnerability with professional competence stirred a mix of excitement and fear within her. The call to authenticity was undeniable, yet it demanded exposure, something she had habitually shied away from. As she rehearsed her pitch out loud, Jamie's voice felt foreign. Each repetition echoing back at her challenged her to break free from rigid boundaries she had imposed on herself as a leader. She envisioned herself on stage, speaking to a room full of watchful eyes, ready to judge her competence based on what she presented. "Practice what you preach," she muttered, reflecting on the advice she'd heard countless times. Yet doing so required courage and audacity she wasn't entirely sure she possessed. The irony was not lost on her. Here she was, preparing to guide her team through challenges of their own while wrestling with her inner conflict. The clock crept closer to the hour of her presentation, and urgency gripped her. Jamie left her desk, needing to clear her head. She wandered through the hallways, absorbing the mundane chatter of coworkers discussing their own burdens, deadlines, project setbacks, personal struggles. It struck her that even the rhythm of everyday dialogue was steeped in vulnerability, a shared human experience often masked by the pretense of professionalism. She bumped into Mark, who was hunched over a stack of papers, brow knit. "Hey, Jamie, you ready for today?" He hadn't meant to press, but his query unraveled the facade she had donned all morning.
"I'm trying to be," Jamie replied. Her voice wavered slightly. "Just dealing with some unexpected emotional territory." Mark raised an eyebrow, leaning back in his chair. "Unexpected emotional territory? Sounds deep. You okay?" It felt instinctual to dismiss it, to protect her carefully constructed walls, but instead, she nodded. "Honestly, I'm contemplating mixing some personal insights into my pitch. It feels relevant, but I'm troubled about how it might come off." "Some of the best leaders I know embrace genuineness," he said simply. "You're not just a title, you're a person." His words hit her like a revelation. Losing the barrier of authority might not diminish her leadership, perhaps it would enhance it. Wasn't the essence of a strong leader the ability to connect, to inspire, to evoke a response? What if this authenticity opened doors for her team to engage more profoundly with their own challenges? With a renewed sense of purpose, Jamie stepped away from the conversation, grasping the direction she wanted to take. She needed to lead bravely, show how sharing her struggles, much like Sarah's situation with Tyler, could cultivate an environment where everyone felt empowered to be vulnerable. As she returned to her desk, her heart pounded with a mixture of anticipation and fear. Could she genuinely thread her personal journey into the narrative of her team? The answer felt more like a high-stakes gamble than a strategic choice. The minutes dwindled, and the tension coiled tightly in her chest, tightening her resolve. She would lay herself bare, embracing the possibility of sparking something profound within her colleagues. Perhaps this was the precise moment she needed to confront her fears head-on. But as she reviewed her notes one last time, a gnawing doubt interjected. What if her message fell flat? Or worse, what if it opened up a floodgate of uncomfortable emotions? The hour had arrived. Breath steadying, Jamie knew she couldn't turn back now. Her next steps could either bind her team closer than ever or expose her to an overwhelming vulnerability she could barely grasp. The door opened. It was time to submit to whatever awaited her on that stage. Would vulnerability light the path for growth, or would it plunge her into uncertainty? Today was going to be pivotal, and she was about to find out how deep the connection could go. The moment Jamie stepped onto the stage, the spotlight hit her, casting a stark illumination against the sea of expectant faces. The flickering overhead lights broke the stillness, each beam a reminder of the weighty expectations resting on her shoulders. She took a breath, grounding herself against the jittering pulse of anxiety that clutched at her heart. "Good afternoon, everyone," her voice rang out, surprisingly steady. "Today, I want to talk not just about our goals and strategies, but about what connects us as a team." The words were chosen with purpose, a gentle invitation for her audience to lean into the authenticity she hoped to embody. She launched into her presentation, navigating through the slides, but her eyes began to drift from the content. Instead of seeing just charts and statistics, she felt the unspoken tension in the room, the weight of individual stories and silent struggles. It pulled her deeper into vulnerability, each glance at her colleagues nudging her closer to reveal the very essence of her humanity. "Before diving into our quarterly results, I want to share a story," she declared, the shift in tone echoing in her chest. She glanced around the room, assessing the reactions her words provoked, a mixture of intrigue, concern, and support. A brief silence enveloped the space as she recounted her own experiences with fear and uncertainty. How she had wrestled with self-doubt, paralleling her insufferable journey with Tyler's. "We all face challenges," she said, voice unwavering. "It's easy to hide behind success, to mask our struggles with professionalism, but when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open doors, both for ourselves and for each other." Her heart raced as she continued, feeling an oddly liberating weight lift off her chest. To her surprise, it was no longer about maintaining an image of a perfect leader. It was about connecting each story, each brief moment of trial, to the courage it took to confront those narratives head-on. For every triumph she shared, she unveiled the depths of her insecurities, and she saw the glimmers of recognition in the eyes before her. As she wrapped up her presentation, Jamie could feel energy shifting in the room. Colleagues exchanged glances, a recognition of shared truths grounding the laughter and lightness that filled the air. She had thrust the spotlight onto the essence of teamwork, not just the successes, but the mosaic of their experiences that shaped the collective strength. Perhaps the truest measure of our progress lies not only in our KPIs, but in our capability to reach out and uplift one another, she concluded, a newfound fierceness emanating from within. As applause erupted around her, Jamie's heart swelled, a tumultuous mix of elation and disbelief surging through her veins. The warmth of acceptance and solidarity filled the air, signaling a shift. It wasn't just her journey she had shared, it was a pathway inviting others to explore the depths of their own emotions, unraveled yet beautiful in their complexity. Backstage, Jamie leaned against the wall, breathless with exhilaration. The realization hit hard. Vulnerability wasn't just a tool for connection, it was her strength, and a strength she'd unknowingly passed on to her team. She hadn't just influenced her colleagues, she had changed herself. As she gathered her thoughts, ready to rejoin her team for discussions, her phone vibrated in her pocket. The message was from Sarah. "I heard what you shared. We need to talk. It's time for me to be real too." A knot formed in Jamie's stomach, the comfort she had found now flipping
to concern. What had Sarah been hiding? The anticipation of this revelation filled her with a new pulse of anxiety. Would this next conversation unveil burdens she hadn't anticipated? With her heart pounding, Jamie stepped forward, ready to confront whatever awaited her. The journey was far from over, and the awareness that deeper layers remained to explore brought her both trepidation and fierce determination. What would unfold next challenged everything she had just embraced, and she could hardly wait to traverse that path. As Jamie stepped away from the wall, she felt the low hum of her colleagues' conversations echoing in her ears. The vibrant atmosphere that had filled her with elation moments ago began to fade into uncertainty with every step. Her heart, once buoyant with hope and empowerment, now thudded heavily, the words of Sarah's message replaying in her mind like a loop that wouldn't fade away. "Ready or not, here it comes," she murmured to herself, clutching her phone tightly as if it were a lifeline. Her mind raced in circles. What did Sarah mean by time to be real? Jamie had sensed a shift in Sarah's demeanor lately, an air of withdrawal that seemed to contradict the team's otherwise vibrant collaboration. Was she struggling too, hidden beneath layers of professionalism, just as Jamie had once done? Jamie couldn't help but think how that knowledge brought a sharp edge of anxiety. The conference room door swung open, revealing the vibrant energy of her colleagues. They were discussing the next steps for the team's upcoming project. Yet Jamie's gaze was drawn to the corner where Sarah sat, shoulders hunched, stirring her coffee, a frown creasing her brow. A part of Jamie wanted to delay the conversation, to drown in the noise and activity of the meeting. But that wasn't the path she had committed to on stage. Her newfound understanding of vulnerability was calling. The courage she sought to inspire in others now beckoned her to lead by example. "Hey Sarah," Jamie said, making her way over, heart racing as she approached. "Can we talk for a minute?" Sarah looked up, surprise flickering in her eyes, followed by a dejected nod. As they stepped into the adjoining break room, the distant chatter of colleagues faded into a hushed backdrop, leaving only the tension thick in the air between them. "Thanks for seeking me out," Sarah said, fidgeting with the paper sleeve of her coffee cup. I've been struggling with some stuff, and I've tried to mask it with work, but after your presentation, I realized I can't keep pretending I'm okay." Jamie's heart twisted at the acknowledgement of their shared pain. "You don't have to pretend with me, Sarah. I shared my story because I wanted everyone, including you, to understand it's okay to be different shades of ourselves. What's really going on?" The look in Sarah's eyes shifted. She seemed both relieved and terrified. In that moment, Jamie wondered if they stood at the precipice of a revelation that could change not only the dynamics of their partnership, but also Sarah's entire perspective of acceptance. I
I've lost sight of my own path," Sarah said, a trembling vulnerability breaking through. "I've buried myself in work ever since the accident with my son. Every day, it's like I'm fighting this mental fog, pretending I'm fine, when inside, I feel lost. I thought I was being strong, but..." Her voice cracked. The admission struck Jamie with the intensity of an arrow. She felt the weight of Sarah's pain echoing her own. Sarah hadn't just been hiding her struggles, she had been battling a storm all alone, afraid of what revealing her reality might mean for her career and perhaps her self-worth. Moving closer, Jamie leaned in with empathy. "You don't have to fight alone. Whatever you're dealing with can be discussed. We're stronger together, remember? There's incredible strength in sharing our truths." As their eyes met, something shifted. A pact of honesty formed between them. In Jamie's gut, she sensed an underlying tension being unwound, but there was still a lingering fear of unraveling more than just emotions. "Can we find a balance?" Sarah asked, her voice steadier now but laced with uncertainty. "Can I lean on you even when it seems messy?" Jamie nodded, internal resolve cementing her purpose as a leader and a friend. "Absolutely. We all need someone to hold us accountable. But it's more than just leaning. It's about growing together and finding strength in our shared journeys." The conversation ignited a renewed fire within Jamie. She realized that this exchange was more than a moment of vulnerability. It was a dynamic shift towards authentic leadership built on mutual support and understanding. But as they exited the break room, Jamie felt a pull, a cautionary note, reminding her that while she'd encountered shared struggles, she had only skimmed the surface of Sarah's experience. What else lay beneath? With every question, Jamie felt the anticipation of their unfolding connection intensify. Just as she began to process this shift in their relationship, her phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from a colleague towards whom she had been harboring doubts. Would this further challenge her resolve, or would it illuminate another hidden layer waiting to be uncovered? As Jamie stepped out of the break room, her heart still buzzing from the conversation with Sarah, she felt a newfound sense of clarity. It was time to embrace authentic leadership, not just as a method of personal expression, but as a catalyst for team cohesion. The journey toward vulnerability had opened her eyes to the power of connection, a force strong enough to reshape both her identity and that of her company. But just as she entered the conference room, the uncertainty of the moment settled back in, hanging in the air like a dense fog. With a series of quick taps, she checked her phone. Another message, this time from a colleague she had dreaded to confront. Would this further challenge her resolve, or would it illuminate another hidden layer waiting to be uncovered? As Jamie stepped out of the break room, her heart still buzzing from the conversation with Sarah, she felt a newfound sense of clarity. It was time to embrace authentic leadership, not just as a method of personal expression, but as a catalyst for team cohesion. The journey toward vulnerability had opened her eyes to the power of connection, a force strong enough to reshape both her identity and that of her company. But just as she entered the conference room, the uncertainty of the moment settled back in, hanging in the air like a dense fog. With a series of quick taps, she checked her phone. Another message, this time from a colleague she had dreaded to confront. "We need to..."
"I feel uncertain about our direction." Every instinct wanted to retreat into self-doubt, but Jamie paused. This was not just about overcoming her insecurities, it was about building a foundation for a culture grounded in transparency and collaboration. If she hoped to inspire others, she'd need to demonstrate her commitment to navigating discomfort side by side with her colleagues. "Let's address this openly," she said to herself, bolstered by the prior exchange with Sarah. As she took her seat, the murmurs quieted, and she felt the eyes of her team on her, urging forth a dialogue they all needed. "Thank you for being here today," Jamie began, her voice steady as it echoed in the room. "We've done some remarkable work together, but I believe we owe it to ourselves to foster an environment where we can express both our triumphs and struggles." She paused, gathering her thoughts, recalling the feelings of uncertainty and fear she had faced earlier. "I want to encourage honesty, especially when we encounter challenges. I know I've been hesitant to delve into my story, but I've come to see how vulnerability can unite us. It's okay to feel lost sometimes, and it's okay to admit that we need support." The response was immediate, a gradual nodding from the team members. Jamie's words broke through the veil of anxiety, igniting an unfamiliar warmth. It felt as though they were collectively acknowledging the burdens they carried. The atmosphere shifted toward openness. One by one, hands began to rise. Colleagues shared their own struggles, each story intertwining with the others, flooding the room with an unexpected solidarity. Each revelation felt like a thread, weaving a more resilient fabric of their workplace culture. It wasn't just Jamie's journey that mattered, it was their shared experiences that solidified their bond. At the culmination of the meeting, Jamie felt an undeniable sense of accomplishment. Disparate personal narratives had converged into a single shared ethos, with her standing as a catalyst for change. The breakthrough ultimately became a turning point not just for the team, but for her as well. Later that evening, as she reflected on the day, Jamie understood her challenge had evolved, morphing into a mission to cultivate connection, a mission that would redefine her leadership style. She'd broken barriers, and the recognition was almost tangible. The sense of fulfillment coursing through her was not just about personal growth, but about fostering an empowered environment where her colleagues felt seen and valued. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the office shifted radically. The openness introduced created more psychological safety than Jamie had anticipated. Decisions were made collaboratively, knowing that every voice mattered, every struggle could be shared, and every story could lead to a greater understanding. She received feedback from peers, praise not only for her vision, but for her unwavering commitment to lead authentically. Peers from other departments reached out to her, expressing how her presentation had inspired them to reevaluate their own approaches. Recognition poured.
As internal surveys reflected a spike in employee morale, engagement, and a stronger sense of community. With every acknowledgement, Jamie felt the rush of satisfaction wash over her. She had conquered her fears, stepping into a leadership role that embraced complexity while dismantling the pretense within her workplace. And more than anything, Jamie emerged as a mother, a leader, and an individual who had not shied away from vulnerability, but embraced it, demonstrating to her son Danny the importance of authenticity. As she closed her laptop that evening, she couldn't help but smirk at the irony. Much like that day in the diner when everything began to unravel, it was in those messy threads that she discovered the most impactful part of herself. This journey had transformed her from a CEO burdened by expectation into a leader thriving on connection. It was time to move forward, embracing every layer of herself and her story. For those of you who crave more incredible, transformative stories like Jamie's, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share this journey with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of personal overcoming. Leave a like to help fuel the algorithm and ensure that these emotionally rich narratives continue to flourish. We want to hear from you. Comment your thoughts and theories about this ending. This is the moment to show your unwavering support.